What up, Kane fans? Welcome back to the show. We're going to do a little something different than what I normally do. I'm going to go a little out of my comfort zone. We're going to talk a little recruiting now that spring portal window has closed, now that spring practice is over. We're going to talk a little high school recruiting. Yes, that is still a thing. That is still there. So we should cover it. I say it's a little out of my comfort zone because if you've been following me for a while, I'm not really a recruiting guy. I follow it, obviously. We'll touch on it. We'll talk about certain prospects. Whenever we land somebody big, I'll always come on here and talk about them. But definitely not one of these, go-to recruiting sources that I would normally listen to. But taking a look at our current class and taking a look at who's out there, because it's recruiting season now. It's May, June, July. Things are really going to ramp up really quick here. And obviously that first big domino of Jackson Cantwell falling could lead to some things, some positive things for Miami's recruiting class in a hurry. Hopefully they leverage that. They take advantage and, dial up the heat on a few guys here. I like that Miami doesn't have like a super high pressure salesy approach when it comes to recruiting. They usually give the players their time. They let them take their visits and all that stuff. But when it's time to close the deal, then Mario breaks the loafers out and it's time to close the deal. So, but before we dive in, I wanted to mention really quick, first of all, like and subscribe. Second of all, I wanted to talk about the interview that he did with Josh Pate yesterday. It dropped yesterday. Always a good interview. Pate is a very good interviewer. I think he's very fair, and I think he has a lot of positive opinions on Miami. He's one of the few out there, but I appreciate him and JD Pickell. I would say of like the bigger ones, the more national guys usually have positive things to say about us, and it's all based on fact. That's what I like about them. They're very fair. So Pate sat down with Mario. It was about a 35 minute interview. They talked about the whole Jackson Cantwell thing, without mentioning his name because he's not signed yet, so they're not allowed to. But Mario had a great answer, talking about that's just outside noise. And, he puts zero value in that. Just basically shut it down real quick. Doesn't bother him. And you could tell that was a genuine answer. It really does not bother him. He does not care. Another answer he gave to a question that I loved. And this is why I really do believe, even with all, his game day coaching flaws and calling timeouts at the wrong time and all that stuff, I really do think he's the right guy for the job as far as rebuilding this program, at least to respectability, at least to being a contender. Is Josh Pate asked him, hey, so what's going through your mind when recruit X is on that podium and, the work is kind of done. You've made all your phone calls. You've done everything you could. Now it's time for him to pick up a hat and make a decision. And his answer kind of surprised me. He was like, I thought he was going to say, well, we put in all the work. It's in God's hands now. I thought he was going to say something like that. No. What he said was, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. I was like, interesting. He elaborated. Whatever it takes, meaning, hey, that guy picking up, let's say, a Georgia hat and committing verbally to Georgia and not Miami, to him, that's just halftime. You still got the third and fourth quarter to go, which is the next 7 months between now and signing day. I was like, that is an excellent point. Just because he committed verbally doesn't mean it's over. Hell, in today's NIL transfer portal Wild West era, even when they sign on the dotted line, it's not necessarily over. Remember what happened with Antoine Jackson, the kid from that went to East Carolina. That was his name, right? Antoine Jackson? I think so. Weird stuff can happen, man. Weird stuff can happen. But I love that never say die attitude that he has, especially on the recruiting trail. He's just absolutely relentless. And that's why he's one of the best. That plus him having money, I mean, that's a deadly combination. And it being, of course, the city of Miami. I mean, who doesn't want to come down here to play football? But that being said, let's dive in to this class really quick. So right now, we have 10 young men committed. 10, yes. We have 10 guys committed. Currently, the number 9 class, according to the 24/7 rankings. Obviously, the big one is Jackson Cantwell, who committed recently. Committed just, was it last week? It was a week ago today, actually. He committed, number 1 overall guy. Then he dropped to 7th. Say whatever you want about that. He's still, in my opinion, the best lineman in the country. Top 10 player overall. Done and done. Then you got big JJ Sparks, the interior lineman, who's a 3-star recruit. You got Joel Irvin, who somehow is a 3-star recruit. I consider him a blue chipper. Ben Congdon, with the new rankings, is now a blue chipper, a taller offensive tackle type player. Darion Coleman, blue chip quarterback. Javion Mallory, 3-star running back. And then you got a few more on defense. You got Jordan Campbell, who I hear a lot of teams are after. I don't blame them. Very talented linebacker. We'll get into the linebackers in a second. But Camden Portis, legacy guy, very, very good athlete, corner. Can't have too many of those at corner. Jalen Waters, the man they call Seatbelt. He is locked down, and for some reason ranked as like the 250th guy in America, which I do not understand. I don't understand that. When Jalen Waters is very, very underrated. Just watch his tape and watch how he just locks dudes down. And then you got Jontavius Wyman, who's another guy, kind of another radar, another 3 borderline 4-star guy that the coaches like. So those are your 10 guys right now. That's kind of your foundation of the class. You got some guys, obviously you got some guys leaving after this year. You got a few rentals that only have 1 year here. And then you got, a few seniors, guys like Mezzi, guys like Wesley Bassane. And then you got your guys like Cece and Ruben Bain, who are for sure. I mean, I would be shocked if they're not gone and going to the draft at least 2nd or 1st round picks. So, you got some future holes to fill. All right. So let's see if I missed any comments here. Let me catch up. John, similar to the NBA Warriors and Celtics, I think Power 3 will be down this year. Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama. Oh, like the big 3. Okay. Because of the young QBs. And I think Penn State, LSU, Clemson, and Miami. I think that's a pretty good take. I think NIL, as you saw a week ago today, has definitely at least helped even the playing field. And then obviously it wasn't just NIL. Mario can develop linemen, and you're going to see that now in the coming years. I think the playing field has been evened up a little bit. Nick Saban not being in Alabama anymore. Things like that. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad take at all. Clemson, I think, is going to be a top 5 team this year, making a deep run into the playoffs, most likely. LSU with Nussmeier, yeah. The ACC alone has a lot of really good quarterbacks with Jennings and CJ Bailey and Carson Beck, Haynes King. Even Castellanos, who's got some talent. He's like the 7th or 8th best guy in the ACC. You got Klubnik, Eli Holstein from Pitt. You got a lot of good quarterbacks just in the ACC alone, which is pretty incredible. We will have the opportunity to strike gold this year if we can execute and stay healthy. Totally 100% agree with you. But yeah, just pulling up the roster here. So, all right. So, Jacoby, I see Mario landing a top 5 class worth 7. I say 5 or 6 at the worst. That's my opinion. But let's dive into that. We will start with the running backs. I'll start by saying I'll start by diving into the few targets that I personally really like, that Miami is after or is likely after, and how I'm feeling, where Miami is with them. So We're going to skip over quarterback because we already got Darion Coleman. That's our guy. That's our guy for the class. Running back, you of course have Derek Cooper. He's the big fish. He's that 5-star stud South Florida player that we've let escape South Florida way too many times. Can't let it happen this year. So Derek Cooper, running back at Chaminade, incredible player, future Sunday player in my opinion. I know it's really early to say that, but he just projects out that way pretty easily. Plays both sides of the ball. Can play a little linebacker, little safety, but I think his position primarily is running back. If it were me, I would not have him play both ways. You're a running back, dude. You're way too talented. You need the ball in your hands. That's my take on Derek Cooper. I'm feeling pretty, from things I'm hearing, I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at with him. He is part of that big visit weekend, May 30th, where 6, not 4, not 5, not 6 5-star players will be visiting the University of Miami the weekend of May 30th. In addition to a few other guys, but the main guys are those 6 5-stars. One of them is Derek Cooper. Now, don't go into the weekend. Don't be waiting by your phone, waiting for a bat signal to come up, thinking, "Oh, we're going to get a bunch of commits this weekend. This is it. It's a wrap." No. Don't go into the weekend thinking that, because you're going to be disappointed. I'm not expecting a bunch of commitments coming out of that little group after this weekend. I don't think with 5 stars of those caliber players, I don't think it works that way. They're coming to visit Miami. They're all coming together, which I think is a huge deal. That will pay dividends later. And them visiting together, you always create that effect of, oh, hey, they start talking, right? Because they're there for the day or for the weekend, whatever. They start talking and they're like, hey, what if we did all come here at the same time? Like what if we all came to Miami? Like, we would dominate. We would dominate. It would be insane. So there's always that aspect of it when you have that collaboration. Mario's very smart for that. But it's, those visits pay dividends. One of our biggest weapons, I think, aside from NIL, aside from the fact that we are a program back on the rise, is the fact that we're in Miami in May. It's getting a little hot, but look outside most days. The weather's still beautiful. So that's going to be a big weekend. Derek Cooper is one of those guys. He is the one probably of the 6 that I feel the best about. That's just me. Not that I feel any sort of negative way about the other ones. I just think we have a bit of a ways to go with some of the other guys. The other ones being, let me pull up the list right now because I forget 1 or 2 of them. Mark Bowman, number 1 tight end. And then you got Calvin Russell, who is Calvin Russell's not visiting that day. Tristan Keys, 5-star wide receiver, number 1 receiver in the country. He's visiting, so that's 3. The 4th one is Lamar Brown, 5-star defensive tackle. And let's see who else. Anthony Tank Jones, freak of nature defensive end out of Alabama. That's the 5th guy. And the 6th guy is Chauncey Kennan, 5-star cornerback. But yeah, of those 6, I think, there's definitely some work to do with all of them to a certain degree. But I think the one we're sitting prettiest with at the moment is Derek Cooper. Of course, landing Jackson Cantwell helps tremendously with that because you get to run behind that guy. I really think we could land Tristan Keys. Yes, I that's not out of the realm of possibility, Jacoby. People are focused on Calvin Russell. I love Calvin Russell. You give me the choice of one. Hey, you can only have one. That's who I'm picking. But Tristan Keys is an interesting one. I think there's legit interest there. And it's been reported that there's legit interest there. So, don't write off that one just because of, past memories of 5 stars just taking visits here for the vacation. No, I think he's legitimately looking at us. But as for running back, you got Derek Cooper, who I feel good about. And then you got another one, Jay Lamar. Jay Lamar, I'm just going to say it. That kid has generational speed. Just stupid. If it's one of those situations that we hear later, that let's say we don't get him, hypothetically, and like a year from now, we hear like, oh, well, yeah, that was one of those guys that if Miami, he was there for the taking, that if Miami really wanted him, he was Miami's to lose. Like they just had to show him the love and go all in on him, and he was theirs. If I hear that a year from now, I'm going to be pissed because he's elite. There's nothing to dislike about Jay Lamar. Okay. I believe he's Nikar's cousin. There's like a relation there from the state of Georgia. It's just, he's a ridiculous talent. It's explosive, electric with the ball in his hands. Whatever happens with Derek Cooper, you work on him, try to get him in the class. But if you can go get Jay Lamar, go get him too. Get both. And Javian Mallory. Look, you got right now, what's our depth chart looking like? You got Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher, to me, is likely gone after this year. You got Jordan Lyle, who in 2026 will be the guy. He'll be the main dude. Marty Brown will be a redshirt junior by then. Depending on how, I see him translating very well to the Power 4 conference. I think or to Power 4 football. I think he will fit well here, and I think he is a Mario Cristobal type of running back in the sense that he's very physical, good contact balance, all that stuff that we've heard, gets a lot of yards after contact. I think Shamar Brown will do well here, but it is an FCS player making that leap. It might not pan out. You never know. So there's, that's kind of a wild card there. And then, of course, you got Chris Wheatley-Humphrey and Gerard Pringle. Pringle will be in his second year, Wheatley-Humphrey in his third. So you're still kind of going to be inexperienced heading into 2026. You're going to have two experienced guys in Lyle and Brown, assuming Brown pans out. He doesn't go anywhere. Pringle, he'll have some carries as a freshman, and Wheatley-Humphrey will have some carries this year. I would not be opposed to taking at least 2 running backs, maybe 3. Because remember, Fletcher is gone. So you gotta have those durable guys. You gotta have bodies. So why not? If there's room, I would take 3 if I can. Now on to tight end. Before I do that, let me answer this. Will we drop Mallory? Mallory, if Lamar is considering. If they can find a way to keep all 3, I think they would. But there's always that chance. If I'm them, I'm trying to get both. I'm trying to get Lamar and Cooper. That's just me. That would be like his 5th time visiting. Oh, with Keys, yeah. Yeah, no, he's interested for sure. So that's the running backs. Tight ends, honestly, you probably find taking 1 because this is who you got right now. You got Elijah Lofton, who's here next year. He's your starter for 2026, God willing. Alex Bauman's a 1-year rental. He's gone. Brock Schott will be in his sophomore year. I think he's going to get some reps this season. I like his game. And then you got Luka Gilbert, who came in. People thought he was going to be a little bit more of a project. No, he's looking pretty good already at 6'6", 6'7", whatever he is. So you got Gilbert, you got Schott, and you got Elijah Lofton heading into 2026. That's not bad. That's pretty nice depth. I could add maybe 1 more. I would add a second if Hezzy Kent is that second. Who is Hezzy Kent? I'm sure you guys all know, but for those who don't know, Hezzy Kent is one of the possible tight end prospects who he's an interesting player. Go look up his tape if you haven't already. He is a 6'5", 300+ pound monster who can move very well to the point that he wants to play tight end at the next level. If he can shed some weight, trim down 15, 20 pounds, get a little quicker, I think Miami can bring him in, use him as a red zone tight end, maybe like a Cam McCormick type that he's blocking a lot, maybe use him a lot in the run game, maybe even hand off to him a few times. Who knows? Like he does a little bit of everything for his high school team. But if you can go out and I don't know if they're going to land Mark Bowman, but let's say you get somebody like him, I'm good. But if you want to add Hezzy Kent as well, That's your second guy, and then you're rock solid at tight end. You've got tons of numbers, and if somebody transfers, but they'll transfer because there's so much talent in the room. So that's tight end. Wide receiver. Obviously, we talked about Calvin Russell. Can't miss guy. There's no excuse for not landing him. Of course, last week, Coach Jay Lucas, from the head coach of the basketball team, offered him a basketball scholarship. And, from what's been reported and from what I hear, that is an important factor for Calvin Russell. He would like to play basketball at the next level as well as football. Usually that's not something Miami messes with. Seems like they might be messing with it this time. That shows you what they think of Calvin Russell and how they feel about him. It shows they're doing, like Cristobal said on Josh Pate's podcast, whatever it takes. If that's what it takes to bring him in, let's bring him in. We cannot let the next Amari Cooper, the next sorry if you hear kids screaming outside. You can't let the next Amari Cooper, Jeremiah Smith, that kind of guy escape again. You can't let it happen. Got to get this kid. Tristan Keys, talked about him. Honestly, you look at the depth chart right now, CJ Daniels, Keelan Marion, and Tony Johnson. Those are really your only guys that are definitely leaving after this year. After that, you're pretty young and pretty freaking talented. Hopefully all these guys get reps this year, so in 2026, they're ready to rock and roll. JoJo Trader, obviously, he'll be, I think, just stay healthy and he'll be great. Ray Joseph, you got Malachi Toney, you got Chance Robinson, you got Joshua Moore, and you got Dalen Upshaw and Nikar. You got some big numbers. You got some numbers. That's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys slated to come back next year. All supremely talented, highly touted guys coming out of high school. There was no under the radar, we scouted him, we liked him. No. All blue chippers, all these guys. So you're 7 deep. Probably add 2 more, I would say. Obviously, Calvin Russell's your can't miss guy. That's 1. And then, see what you do about all the other guys out there. As long as you get Russell, I'm feeling pretty good about whoever they get as the second guy. But I think there you take 2. By the way, if you disagree with me, please throw it in the chat. We'll talk about it. You got offensive line next. Kylo Ren, Miami Kane. Thank you very much for the dono. Miami's elite. We take recruits from OSU sucks yearly. Yes, we do. We do. Jordan Lyle, Mark Fletcher, Justin Scott. There's been quite a few. Unfortunately, Jeremiah Smith wasn't one of them. That would have been great, but can't have everything. But yeah, we're starting to take recruits plural from the big boys, and I'm very much enjoying that. Offensive line. Good news here is your O-line. Let's see who we got in the boat already. Your O-line class is almost set. I would take at least 5, 6 if you can. Right now, it's Jackson Cantwell, JJ Sparks, Joel Irving, Ben Cogden. That's it. That's 4. Okay. So you got those 4. You got Cannon Pickett out there as a possibility. You land him and Jackson Cantwell, I'm pretty happy. I like Cogden, and I love Joel Irving. If you can get a 6th, Kenai Pepe, he's out there, although he seems pretty firm with USC at the moment. But I think Mario's not – it's a 5-star offensive lineman. Of course, Mario's not going to give up on that one. He's trying to make us trench you again with all the 5 stars he's gotten in the trenches the last couple of years. It's been 5 guys? Justin Scott, Maui Noah, Pancake. It's been a bunch of guys. So I think they're not going to give up on him. There's probably other late rising prospects that we're looking at. I think we end up taking 6 linemen, at least 5, probably 6. By the way, as for the whole class, we got 1 5-star in right now. I'm thinking, you guys let me know. My over-under is 3 on 5 stars this year. I think we get 3, possibly 4. The possibly 4 that I have in my mind is Kenai Pepe. Let's see what happens there. But yeah, Cannon Pickett's the one that I'm like, man, you got the family thing, you got you got that connection, the legacy. It's like you got to go get that kid. Oh, Ryan Moret. Yeah. Ryan Moret would be like the next one down the line. They love Ryan Moret, him being I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that. Most people pronounce it Moret. I've heard Ryan Moret. I pronounce it Moret for now. I'm sure the coach, if he signs, they'll correct us. But him being a wrestler, I like that a lot. But Ryan Moret's a good one. I know Coach Mirabal went down and visited him a few days ago, so I know they like him a lot. But man, you bring in, let's say you don't get Pepe, but you bring in Cannon Pickett and this kid, I'm set. I'm good. So that's offensive line. Defensive end. This one's interesting because for the first time in a while, I'm looking at our DNs, and you lose Mezzi next year. You lose Bain next year. Most teams would look at that and be like, oh shit, what do we do? Especially likely two NFL guys, starting DNs, they're gone. Usually it's hard to replace those. When we've had that in the past, when we had like Chad Thomas and Al-Quadin Muhammad and guys like that, it would take 2-3 years to like replenish and get back to that level again. Not here, because those guys are gone. But then you got Armando Blunt, you got Malik Bryant, you got Hayden Lowe, you got Marquise Lightfoot, who, if you forget, was a 5-star recruit at one point on some publications, Cole McConaughey, who I like a lot, and Booker Pickett, who I like a lot. You're deep with some talent there on the edge. I think you go grab 2 elite guys and call it a day. Mario has proven over the years that he can get elite guys coming off the edge. One guy that is visiting that big weekend, May 30th, is Anthony Tank Jones. I'll be honest with you. That one is not one I'm holding out too much hope for, because you're going to need to pry him out of the state of Alabama. With Bama themselves and Auburn, that's going to be an uphill battle to land that young man. But if you do land him, first of all, the loafers need to go in the Hall of Fame. That's number one. Number two, Tank Jones is an absolute, like, I hate to keep using the same term, but there's a couple of freaks of nature in this class, like out of the prospects. Tank is one of them. Go watch his tape and tell me he doesn't kind of remind you a little bit, like his athleticism, a little bit of Dylan Stewart, a little bit. Dylan Stewart is a once in a lifetime kind of recruit. I cannot believe we were second for that one, but he kind of gives me those vibes. The dude plays both sides of the ball. He plays wide receiver. He plays D end, obviously. He takes snaps from the Wildcat. I don't know if you've seen this. At 245 pounds, whatever he is, he takes snaps from the Wildcat and gets big chunk plays from the Wildcat. Okay, so again, he's visiting May 30th. Let's see if we can gain some ground there. I don't think we're number one by any means. Again, state of Alabama, but you can do some work and chip away at him because you got time. That's the good news. Jacoby, like Dave Chappelle scratching it. That's funny. Cleveland and Jones are both from Bama. I'll take either one. Yeah. No, same. No, Tank Jones. Oh my God. That is your Dylan Stewart. That is your Kayvon Thibodeau. That is your elite future first round edge rusher that you got to like put all your chips in for. Again, they somehow figure that out and land him. Loafers, Hall of Fame. Like, seriously. Juan Manuel says, hey, John must be happy with the Panthers hockey. I am. Do you know if Drew Rosenhaus is Malachi Field agent? Does anyone out there know who his agent is? I do not know who his agent is, but I'm sure someone in the chat will chime in with it eventually. Yes. Quick little hockey sidebar here. Actually, how are the boys doing? I believe they started the Eastern Conference Finals right now. Florida Panthers. Nothing. First period. Okay. Yes, very happy about the Panthers. I suffered through the lean years of the 2000s, probably 2000 to freaking 2019, 20. It was like a good 20-year run. The Ole Jokinen years, the Nathan Horton years, wasting Roberto Luongo's prime. And then the year that we got Jaromir Jagr, and I was a big Panther fan as a kid. I've always loved hockey. I never stopped liking it. I just had no one to talk to about it with, because no one in Miami watches hockey until now. Always loved it. I always thought the NHL's playoffs are the best playoffs, hands down. So many games go to overtime. The crowd is just buzzing. I love hockey. And to finally see them like dig themselves out of being in the cellar for 20 years and win championships, it is a really cool thing and very gratifying as a fan, because I've always paid attention, always had kept a watchful eye on the Cats, and finally, I think it was like 2016, they finally made the playoffs for the first time in years. Barkov was like 21 years old. Ekblad was like 19 years old. I remember that team. Fun to watch, but that's when I got reinvested in hockey. But yeah, to answer your question, man, very happy about the Cats. Hopefully they repeat. That would be really cool to see another parade. Let's see. Heard some good feedback on Deuce Gerald's from Gabby today. Okay, I'll have to look into that. Are you going to the Panther games? At least one playoff? I would like to. 1-0, John. Let's go. Ooh, yes. Did we score? Yes, we did. Nice. Thank you, Kyle. 1-0 Cats. And the game is on TNT, so I'll be able to watch it on Max. Juan Manuel says, you can tell, John, your energy is up when you talk hockey. Yeah, I've always enjoyed that sport. It's just there was no reason to talk about it down here, and I had no one to talk about it to. But now there's more hockey fans, you know? By the way, if you're looking to learn a little bit about hockey, because I knew the rules as a kid and then kind of lost it over time. But Empty Netters, great podcast. Those two guys are clowns. They're hilarious. But I learned a lot about the game listening to those guys. Like, you know, the next day after the Panthers play or after a big playoff game. That's a good podcast. I recommend if you're like starting to get your feet wet with hockey and trying to learn the game. That's a good podcast. Empty Netters, it's called. Yeah. So where was I? DN, Tank Jones. Okay. Linebacker. Let's talk about linebacker for a second. Let's see. Let's go to my spreadsheet here. All right. So you just landed Mohamed Toure, and you got this kid from NC State, Bonner, Kamal Bonner. I think adding those two guys has bolstered the linebacker room tremendously, assuming Mohamed Toure is healthy. Okay, because if it's anything like the Mohamed Toure we last saw on the field, which, by the way, was the bowl game, the Pinstripe Bowl, Rutgers versus Miami. If I'm not mistaken, that's the last game he played, because there's no stats of him since. Had the knee injury. I believe it was a knee injury. He was out for the year. The good thing is he's had plenty of time now. He's had like over 1.5 calendar years to recover and get the strength back. Penn State wanted him. That alone for me, if you're a linebacker and Penn State wants you, I'm interested. And I remember I saw Toure's tape. It's impressive. That's a playmaker. That's a mean, nasty dude that gets after the quarterback that I want on this team. And he's a leader. So that was a big get. But bad news is he's a 1-year rental. So he's gone. Wes is gone. Jalen Alderman's gone. Chase Smith is gone. That's 4 guys right there. Let me see who else. I think that's it. So you got 4 guys that are gone. You're left with Popo, Cam Pruitt, Bonner. The good thing with Bonner is he's young, only a redshirt sophomore, and you got Kellen Wiley, freshman. Yeah, man, you're pretty thin at linebacker after this season. I think you got to go take 3 at least. I know most snaps you're going to have 2 linebackers on the field. I guess if you take 3, I'm good with that, but you got to go get at least 3. You got Jordan Campbell already. I love him. But there are a lot of teams after him. I keep hearing the rumors. Or anytime I hear a rumor of teams trying to pluck one of our guys, it's always Campbell. That's always the one I hear about. So hopefully we hang on to him. I like him a lot. Great athlete. Plays with a mean streak. Just, checks a lot of boxes for me as a Miami linebacker is what we look for in a linebacker. Now, one guy in particular that I really, really like. I don't like Campbell visiting Auburn. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Jonathan, according to Texas Insiders, we put a down payment on Johnson already. On Johnson? Which one's Johnson? You'll have to give me first names because okay. James Johnson. Got it. I missed that comment. Oh, we'll talk about James Johnson in a second. Love that dude. Okay. And I love that he transferred to Miami Northwestern. But one linebacker I really like is Malik Morris. Okay. Malik Morris is a dude. He's from the Lakeland area. So that's Gator country. I think it's going to come down to a Miami-Florida battle. Maybe that game when we play them. Maybe that'll tip the scales in our favor if we beat Florida again. Malik Morris, I see that dude's tape, and the word that comes to my mind is just wrecking ball. He is not the biggest guy in the world, 6'1", 225, decent size, not small either, but, not super tall. He, to me, is like your traditional Mike linebacker that you need. That the kid that it's funny, we're one class removed from it, and I already forget these kids' names sometimes, especially if they don't come to my eye. I can only fit so many names in my head. The kid that decommitted last minute and went to Oregon. If you guys can throw it in the chat, I'm trying to remember. Garvin. The name's on the tip of my tongue. Really good linebacker. Like traditional Mike linebacker would have been perfect for that role. Gavin Nix, thank you. With Gervin, I was close with Gervin. Gavin Nix, yeah. This kid would be the Gavin Nix replacement, Malik Morris. And in fact, I think he might even be a little bit more athletic than he is because Gavin Nix also plays running back and plays running back very well. But he's a linebacker primarily. I think you got to do that is another whatever it takes guy. We need, for whatever reason, we're still not completely devoid of talent. I like some of the younger guys we have there now. I like Popo. I like Cam Pruitt, but he's not really a linebacker. He's more of a tweener. Playmaker, but more of a tweener. I like Kellen Wiley, but that's it. I mean, you're still very thin. I would say go get Malik Morris, whatever you got to do. I think it's gonna come down to Miami or Florida for that one. But he's my favorite of the guys out there. Canes fan, loved his tape as well. He's one of the top 3 or 4 guys looking through this list of names of these prospects that I'm like, oh my God, really like his tape. Elliott, linebacker from West Palm. Yeah. Just get me athletes, and please get me a true Mike because we need it. So that's linebacker. I'm saying take at least 3 because we need it. Now we'll go into what I consider the main event, the secondary. And this is the whole reason I wanted to do this, because one of you guys, I forgot who it was, asked me, hey, who are we looking at corner for this class? Like who's left? Because we've picked up a couple of corners already. I didn't know how to answer in the moment. So I was like, you know what? Let me do my homework and I'll get back to you. And I ended up looking at every position, but especially corner and safety, because like nowadays with the slot corner or with a third safety, now you're playing with more DBs than ever. Okay, so you got to always have big numbers there at those positions. Right now, where it stands, Jacoby Thomas, 1-year rental. Solid pickup, by the way. I like that we got him. We needed an enforcer back there, veteran. He's got experience. Hopefully we can rely on him. Jacoby Thomas, great pickup, but 1-year rental. So he's gone next year. Isaiah Taylor, redshirt senior, he's gone next year. Charles Brantley's gone next year, 1-year rental. Keontae Scott's a 1-year rental. So you really got to address slot corner, because on paper, Brantley and Scott, those are your 2 slot corners, unless you move Damari Brown over. But you got to address that in a big way. So sticking around, hopefully, Damari Brown, Xavier Lucas, Zachariah Poyser, Markeith Williams. I'm shocked. He's only a redshirt junior. I thought he was way older than that. But hey, we got an experienced guy for 1 more year. Dylan Day, Ethan O'Connor, OJ Frederique. Then of the freshmen coming in, you got Bryce Fitzgerald, Jabari Antoine, Amari Wallace, and Chris Ewald. Amari Wallace, Chris Ewald looking good in the spring. So, promising there. But again, you got a lot of guys leaving too. So you got 3 DBs committed. I'm thinking you got to go get at least 1 more, possibly 2, and end up with 5 corners. Because remember, a good chunk of your snaps are with 3 corners on the field. Keep that in mind in today's college football. So you got to go get a true slot corner. You got to go get boundary corner. You got to think all that stuff. 1 corner, to answer the question from last week, who I really like, you might recognize the name, Fitzpatrick, Justice Fitzpatrick. Yes, he is related to former Dolphin Minkah Fitzpatrick. He is his younger brother. Looks like him and everything. Like plays like him. Like you think you're watching Minkah's tape from years ago. He's not as much of a Swiss Army knife as Minkah Fitzpatrick was. I mean, Nick Saban said himself that is one of the best players he's ever coached. And you see why, because Minkah played the slot, played safety, you could put him at corner if you needed to, and played all at an elite level. There's a reason he was a first-round pick. And Justice Fitzpatrick, he's not so much a Swiss Army knife. He's more of a straight corner, but he's pretty big. I would not be shocked if he eventually makes the move to safety, because he's a big-time hitter, very, very, very physical. Justice for me, if I got 1 slot left, 1 spot for corner, I'm going all in on Justice Fitzpatrick. I loved his tape. There's really nothing else to say here. He plays very physical, just like his brother. I think he's only listed as 6 foot, but for some reason he looks bigger than that on the field, and knows how to lock corners down, knows how to engage, shed the blocker, make the tackle, not afraid to get his nose dirty on run plays. I noticed Mario's targeting a lot of corners that are like that, and I like it. I'm here for it. But he's very, very physical, and I think he would fit here like a well-tailored glove. He would fit the culture perfectly. So yes, go all in on Justice Fitzpatrick if I'm Mario Cristobal. And there is a past connection there, because Mario was the primary recruiter for Minkah, for Big Brother back years ago when he was at Alabama. So yes, CJ Hester is another one I like. Chauncey Kennan, of course, if you can land him, insane. Anytime you can bring in a 5-star corner, yeah, I'm taking it in a heartbeat. But man, I really, really like Justice. Again, if I have 1 corner spot left, I'm taking him. Safety. You got Poyser coming back next year. You got Markeith Williams, experience. You got Dylan Day. By then, he'll be experienced. So you're going to have to get we're probably going to have to go to the portal again to get a reliable, day 1 starter kind of safety. But you can definitely bring in some young guys as well. I know Devin Jackson, that's kind of a Miami-Oregon battle right now. Devin Jackson is a bigger guy, 6'2", 195, 200 that they really like. They're going hard after him. If I can, I take 2 safeties at least. And you get him, but another one that I really like, I know Tamarian Watkins is another one. And the one that I like that's not really being talked about a lot. He should be being talked about more. I don't know exactly where he is on Miami's list, but he is visiting part of that May 30th weekend. That, you know, all the 5 stars are going to get the spotlight, but this kid, he's going to come in kind of under the radar, but he is visiting with that group. His name is Cortez Redding. I like Cortez Redding a lot. That is one of the guys I mentioned, one of the few tapes I watched that like blew me away. If you haven't seen Cortez Redding, go look up his huddle tape. Very smooth, tracks the ball very, very well. Looks fast on tape. You know, everybody talks about 40 time and measurables and stuff like that. Look, do you look fast on tape? Yes or no? That's what's important to me. Right now has 49 offers last time I checked. He is visiting May 30th. He is from Jonesboro, Georgia. Miami has been planting seeds in Georgia for a while now, and I think it's going to pay off now with guys like that. Heard they went to visit Jet Washington the other week, and he's visiting the 30th. Cool. Hey, that 30th weekend, that's a big weekend, man. That and the 6th. Who else is visiting the 6th that I saw? I wrote it down here. 1 second, folks. June 6th. Oh, James Johnson. I didn't talk about D tackles. Glad I reminded myself. So yeah, Cortez Redding. That's one I really like. So keep an eye out on that one. James Johnson. I'll end with the D tackles. Obviously, Lamar Brown is the big name, the sexy name that's coming May 30th. Great. Find a way to get him. I would be freaking ecstatic. But James Johnson, the fact that he's in our backyard, the fact that he is Calvin Russell's teammate, I think is very, very big. I think that would be a great chess move to bring him in. Not only a great chess move, but also this kid is 6'2", 285. And if you watch his tape, anytime he throws those hands out, the offensive lineman literally bounces off him and rolls back. I mean, he sends people flying. James Johnson is very impressive. Violent hands, violent player. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way, in the sense that, you know, he may take a flag every now and then, dumping a dude, you know, after the whistle. Obviously, you want to clean that up, you know. But the fact that he's got that mean streak in him, you know, now I don't want him to injure anybody, obviously, but he's got that mean streak in him. He doesn't just gently nestle you to the ground. No. He goes for the hard hit. He goes to slam people on the ground. He's, you know, he's nasty. He's nasty. I like James Johnson a lot. Transferred to Northwestern, so he's in our backyard now. Very explosive. Your prototypical 3 technique, like shoot the gap kind of D tackle, very athletic. I would love to see if we get like another guy that's more of a plug, more of like a nose tackle type, because we tend to never get those for whatever reason. But James Johnson, really like him as more of like a pass rusher, like knife through the A gap, try to get the running back kind of guy. He'll be a playmaker at the next level. He's ranked, he's like a top 75 kind of guy. He would be a 5-star if he was like 1.5 inches to 2 inches taller. 1.5 inches taller. He'd be right around 6'4". He'd be a 5-star. I thought they moved on from Larry Miles. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. Lofton next year would be lethal. Yes, he would. It's a great chess move too. Artavius Jones needs to be our nose. I don't know if he's got quite the height for nose tackle, but you know, necessarily. I don't know if you guys remember back with the Cowboys, I don't know, 15 years ago, 12, 15 years ago. I want to say his name is Jay Ratliff. You guys remember that nose tackle that the Cowboys had? Dude, fantastic nose tackle. And he was like 6'2", 300 pounds. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world. Great nose tackle, though. the idea of a nose tackle is to be disruptive. You know, being big and occupying blockers obviously helps you, just like being a 7-foot tall center helps you in basketball. Really, you need to have the skill set. You know, it's more important than the size. The size helps you tremendously, but you need the skill set to be able to win one-on-one battles so much that you're drawing double teams. Jones, I agree. Jones is an absolute unit, and I love him. So I'm kind of walking back what I was about to say. Yeah, I think Artavius Jones can be a nice nose tackle. Ahmad Moten, he can do a little bit of that, but I feel like Moten is more of a playmaker. Even though I think he's got the size to do it, he's more of a playmaker. But anyway, that's just me on that one. But it is 8:51. Been talking almost an hour. Flew by. 68 in the chat. Appreciate you guys. Please go hit the like button. That is my take on recruiting as of today on May 20th, 2025, the year of our Lord. I will definitely come back and do this again more often as, you know, we get more updates recruiting. I'll probably do this like once a month. I really enjoyed preparing for it. And really, it was just like a few days of just like cramming for a test last minute. But no, I'll keep putting some feelers out there and try to like get you guys some more information on more guys. You know, if there's a specific guy you want me to talk about, you want my thoughts on, please throw it in the comments or if you're on the Discord, ask me on Discord or shoot me a DM on Twitter. It's like, hey, you know, I want you to talk about this guy. Tell me your thoughts. No problem. I'll do it anytime. But anyway, gonna go catch this Panthers game. As always, it's all about that. You go Canes. Have a good night, everybody.